It's Saturday morning. It's 9 o'clock. Oh yes. Oh yes. It's time for the Monster Magic Saturday show. Let's do this.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning. Feel the sun shining for your eyes.
Woo! Good morning, everybody. Gosh, have we had some lovely, beautiful autumn days. But the best bit is it's coming up to Halloween, and Halloween is getting bigger and bigger every year. So I've got a couple of tricks that are absolutely perfect for it. And first up, we have Witchfinder by Dave Forrest. Dave Forrest has been knocking it out of the park recently. Chip Reader, which is an incredible piece of mentalism, very easy to carry around, just keeps on selling. A really, really strong trick. He also had the Freak, which came out a couple of weeks ago, which has a brilliant method and a nice in the hands restoration of a photograph. This is his take on a packet trick, and a little bit like Freak, it's all tied in with a lovely spooky story. It starts off as a traditional card trick where you have a card selected, signed and lost in the deck. That is then put aside for a moment as you bring out 4 playing cards. You show that on the backs they've all got pictures of a moonlit woods on, and on the other side they all have pictures of some beautiful maidens. You tell a story about the Salem witch trials and how the maidens used to hide in the woods. So you turn all of the maiden cards face down, but one appears face up, and she is therefore the one that has been captured. When you turn her card over, the back of the card has changed into the picture of a burning witch. You then turn the other 3 cards over, and they are no longer beautiful maidens, but actually spooky witches. But at the bottom of the card are the words 12 cards down. You then return to the deck. You have your participant pick it up, count down 12 cards, and the 12th card is indeed their signed selection. It is a very story-led trick, which is great because it can really draw in your participants. In essence, it is a packet trick, but it's tied in to a traditional card trick as well. And as Dave points out, that means that your participants aren't just spectators, as they often are in packet tricks. They just sort of watch cards turning face up and twisting and all of that sort of thing. With this way, they actually get to have the cards in their hands. They get to do some counting, and that really draws them in a little bit more. It's also great because you can do it after a normal card set. You can then just ask them to sign a card, put it in, and then just bring out the cards as well. So it's not as if it has to be a standalone. You can weave it in to a traditional card routine. And because the card is in fact freely selected and so on, there's no setup with the deck of cards at all, so it doesn't matter where in the set you perform it. It does involve controlling the card once it's returned to the deck. Dave runs through several ways of doing it, none difficult. The double undercut is used, for example, which is a very, very basic sleight. It is probably already in your repertoire. It's very nice how he uses the cross-cut force as well at the end, just to really emphasize a little bit of fairness. But the really, really great bit about this trick is the packet side. There are so many changes that happen although it's tied into the story, you don't want that to become too distracting as to what really, really happens. You need to make sure that they focus, that they see all of the backs are pictures of these moonlit woods. And Dave runs through how to do that. The sleight used obviously is that Ghost Count by Alex Elmsley, first published in the 4-card trick in 1959, I believe. And that way you very cleanly show all of the backs, and there are some nice subtleties as well, these lots of all-round subtleties slipping in so that they see all of the backs. The same with showing that they've all got maidens on as well, and that way when you reveal that the back of one of the cards has changed into a burning witch, that will be a really big surprise. When you show that the other 3 cards have also changed and are no longer maidens but witches, that is again really, really strong. And then of course the fact that they've predicted where your card is is a massive kicker. Let me show you what you get in here. You get the cards, obviously. Here we go. And the cards are printed on quite heavy cardstock. Let me just get the last one out as well. Quite heavy cardstock. They're nice sort of dated pictures. That sort of does look like a witch from a maiden from that era of the Salem witch trials. The woods are nice and spooky. They're really beautiful. And because of they're slightly thicker, I think they're going to last a lot longer. They'll be more durable than perhaps a traditional bicycle card might be. They still handle, they've still got a nice finish. They still handle very well. Dave spends a lot of time on the ghost count, teaching it really, really well. Covering all the mistakes you might make, whether you want to do it at your fingertips or counting forwards, just how to do it and how to make it feel logical, and sort of combining a bit of motivation with it as well. It's a really interesting little tutorial on the count. There's also another little something in this plastic wallet that you need to put on one of these cards. So one of these cards is sort of gimmicked slightly extra. That will last you a fair few goes. It's easy to replace from any stationery store, but there are alternatives to that as well, which will become apparent when you know what it is. You also get a 10% voucher off Dave's website, full52.com. So if you pop over there and spend £220, this trick is essentially free. It's a great performance piece. It's ideal for Halloween, but it's not so tied into Halloween that that's the only time you can perform it. If you just want to have a little fun, spooking a few people a little bit, or really drawing them in with some storytelling, then I think at any time of year it is perfect. It's not as if it's got pumpkins on it or anything like that. There's a lot of magic crammed in to the few minutes that it takes to perform this, and it's a lot of fun to perform, and you can really engage your audience with the story. It's not entirely self-working, but you're gonna have to learn the Elmsley count. Dave's teaching of the Elmsley count is exceptionally good, and almost makes it worth buying just for that. That is Witchcraft by Dave Forrest, $21.99. Next up, it's The Eye by Rocco Colt. This is some gruesome visual magic for sure. Several routines are actually taught using this gimmick that apparently Rocco has been playing around with for about 4 years. My favourite one is called Mouth Eye, where you cover up your eye and your eyeball appears in your mouth moving around. You then close your mouth and show that your eyeball is back where it belongs and your mouth is now empty. I just think that routine is sort of spooky, slightly gross, but very, very funny as well. It's that right mixture for me of not really scaring people too much. I'm not a big fan of serious horror, certainly not in the films. If you've put a little bit of slapstick in there as well, or maybe a little bit of too much blood, I'm all for that. I need it to be slightly light-hearted, and I think this kind of nails it just right. Other routines he taught is pulling out money from the back of your eye, which the gimmick is specially designed actually to produce a quarter from your eye, but the quarter used looks very much like a 10p, so don't worry too much about that if you're in the UK. And also, since you've just pulled it out of your eye, I'm not sure anyone's really going to be grabbing for the coin to check it out. And he also teaches a very simple routine called pop eye, where you simply just pull your eye out, show it and pop it back in. Let me show you what you get in here. Let me show you the gimmick essentially. I can't show you too much, I don't think, really. So this is the eye. There you go. The pupil actually does look remarkably good, certainly close up. I'm not sure if you're getting that on the screen. It does actually look remarkably good in many ways, but I think it's just comic enough for me to be the right measure of entertaining without being too scary. You also get a bit of a gimmick to make it look like your eye socket is empty. That needs to be trimmed to fit your eye socket, and that is probably where this kind of lets the trick down a little bit. Rocco doesn't really go into any great detail about how to get it the right shape, how to measure it for your eye, how to get it to fit. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself. You will just need a craft knife or a decent pair of scissors to do it, but it's more about getting the shape right and so on, and that really is like the handling of the actual trick and so on is pretty straightforward. There is also another part that helps with stealing the eyeball and the eye socket cover in and out of play. That is very simple to use. It really helps with the handling. It makes it look really, really clean and almost removes any slight, so you don't have to worry about palming or anything like that. The motivation and the cover for getting the eyeball from your eye to your mouth is all really well motivated. The choreography is great and just completely makes sense. And I think it is kind of quite strong magic in a way. You don't want to have the eye socket gimmick on display for too long. You just want to give an impression that it's there and that your eye socket's empty. So just a couple of seconds really, because if they stare at it too long, you know, it's not that brilliant an illusion, but it's good enough. And they should be distracted by the fact that you're holding out an eyeball or you've got an eye in your mouth. It is obviously brilliant for Halloween. I think it's probably one of those great uncle tricks as well, if you've got some nieces and nephews and you just want to gross them out without haunting them and giving them nightmares. Rocco goes on at the end with some final thoughts of how you can do other routines with it, but for me, I would just do mouth eye every time. I can't think of many good gross out comedy tricks to compare it with, certainly not for close-up. The knife through arm I used to get a lot of laughs with, but that's more of a stage effect. It's perfect for Halloween. It's also perfect to carry around to surprise people with. That is The Eye by Rocco Colt, $39.99. Next up, it's Extra Sensory Prediction by David Jonathan and Nicholas Mavredes. This is an ESP packet trick. We've all seen them before. There are absolutely loads of them out on the market. They are everywhere. This one is so different. Normally you'd have two sets of the symbols. You'd give your participant one set, you'd put them face down on the table, you then collect them up in a slightly iffy manner and then deal them down and show that you have matched perfectly. This is completely different. It's much quicker, much cleaner and incredibly direct. You show that you've got the 5 cards, you've got the 5 symbols, the square, the wavy line and so on, and you simply ask them to choose one. You put the one that they've chosen down on the table. When you turn that over, it says you will choose the circle. When you turn the others over, though, it says you will choose the. It is really, really strong. You can play it in 2 ways, actually. So you can have it so that you turn over the card that they've chosen and it says the symbol on the back. And that should get a laugh because obviously they're expecting the other cards to all have their name of the symbols on the back. Or you can do a different handling, which I think they can credit to Nick Lecapo, where you just put down that you will choose the, and then it's just got their picture of the circle, and then you turn over the circle at the end. Either way, you should hopefully get a bit of a laugh if you plan it right. Which way stronger, I'm not really sure. Probably the latter magically, but I think you'll get a bigger laugh with the first one, and I'm all for the laugh. The tutorial itself is by Nicholas and David, and they do a marvellous job together, actually. They sort of play off each other and they sort of show each other their own different handlings throughout. There's very little handling in this, actually. It uses what they call the TMP method, which is really, really cunning and is probably going to be used in a lot of effects, certainly by these two. I imagine their brains are churning away thinking of other ways of using this method. Let me show you what you get. So you actually get the cards, surprisingly enough. They're all quite nicely printed. Like so. Let's just do the circle there. And it's nice and bold. It's nice that he's got different colours. It's nice that that's bold. It's nice the contrast of the red with the blue as well. That's really good. It really, really does stand out. And no matter which symbol they pick, you always end up with exactly the same outcome. It's a completely free choice of symbol. The outcome is always exactly the same. It is always just as clean as it appears. The circle is the one they demonstrate. The circle is the easiest out of the. If they choose the circle, you have to do absolutely nothing. If they choose any of the other symbols, you basically only have to learn how to reverse count some cards, and the gimmicks do everything else for you. So these are gimmicked. These are treated, shall I say, in a very special way that they call the TMP principle. And it makes it super easy to do. And this method means that you really have to do nothing different regardless of which symbol they choose. They do suggest there's a couple of symbols that you might want to just shift a card here or there. You can do that out in the open if you like, and that's only to make the reveal all in the right order perfectly. Otherwise you'll still be just as strong, but perhaps not look quite as slick. You don't end perfectly clean, however. The card they've selected they can examine, they just can't touch the other cards, but that's fine. I think it's probably more likely that the selection is going to be the one that they are interested in. And as David and Nicholas point out, you can be really nonchalant with the handling of the other cards. You can drop them down on the table and just be really, really casual and just emphasize the fairness of it all. I am super impressed with this. The method is ingenious and does it all for you. I'm amazed that there's so little to remember. There's so little movement. Everything is exactly the same, regardless of what they say. It's a completely free choice. It's just as powerful. There are no multiple outs or any fiddly stuff going on at all. It resets itself pretty much. You've just got to pick up the cards. David and Nicholas perform this very quickly and fast. It's a perfect opener for that as well. You can really draw people in, hit them between the eyes with a good, strong, fast effect. I would throw in a little bit of a personality reasoning as well, just to sort of really build a connection with your audience, your participant, or perhaps say they've chosen the circle because they're reliable and strong, or perhaps because it's yellow and that they're a cheerful person, something like that. Have a little bit of fun with it. It's probably best performed with the table, but they do teach an in the hands method of showing it. It's just a little bit more awkward to show that you will pick the cards on the back, you know, because you've got to spread them out. But otherwise, it works just as well in the hands for walk around. It is super clever. It's very easy to do. It is very, very strong. And it's also got a little bit of built-in comedy. That is the SP prediction. David Jonathan, Nicholas Madredes, 1999. Next up, it's Venom Cube Compact Edition by Henry Harrius. I think probably without doubt the Venom Cube has been Henry Harrius's greatest invention. He is the master of Rubik's Cube props and gimmicks for sure. Certainly if you're going to be using a gimmicked cube, one of Henry Harrius's effects is perfect. They hands down really strong, really powerful. The Venom Cube came out a number of years ago, and if you're going to be doing parlor or stage, it was ideal. I remember Jason performing it for me, and I had no idea. I think I had to do it lots and lots of times before I had an inkling. The basic Venom Cube effect is that you hand your participant a Rubik's Cube and ask them to mix it up, and you show that you've got another Rubik's Cube in a bag. They mix and mix and mix and mix away. When they bring it back to you, you point out that they could have mixed it in any number of different orientations. But when you reveal your cube from the bag, they can match perfectly on every side. You then take the cube that they've mixed, give it a toss in the air, and it solves. I mean, it's an absolutely incredible routine. The solve at the end does require a little bit of skill. So the only real difference between this and the Venom Cube regular is the size of the cubes. These cubes are slightly smaller. The gimmicks are exactly the same. They've made to the same high precision standard, and that is what is so clever about this Venom Cube. Honestly, the way it works, it's invisible even close up. So there was nothing stopping you performing the original Venom Cube close up at all, apart from it's a little bit bulky to carry around, and this just solves that. And what's really nice, that's the cube here, is that this cube isn't so small that it looks out of place. It's sort of like a medium. It's not titchy tiny, doesn't look like an odd sort of cube, if you see what I mean. It's not so small that they think you could switch it easily or hide it in your palm or anything like that. It's a really the ideal size. There it is compared to the standard cube. So there you go. That's the size difference. And this means that this can fit in your breast pocket, it can fit in your jacket pocket. You do obviously need to carry two. They put them in a nice bag. I won't show you the other one because it's gimmicked, but you put both in this bag. It doesn't take up much space at all. It's very easy to carry around. And what a trick to do close up. The matching of a mixed cube is so strong, so incredible. The displays are slightly easier with the smaller cube, I think, as well. The solve, a lot of the tutorial is actually about the solve. There's a mix, there's a stack. You can choose which stack you want, obviously. You can use Usami Tagamez or Stephen Brundage or any solve that you might know, or you can use the one that Henry teaches on the tutorial. I mean, there's a good half an hour, 35 minutes on doing that solve fast, and the stack itself and how to get into the stack. And you know, you probably do want to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube. That isn't hard. There are plenty of tutorials. The Refractor project with Kev G and Colin Klaus, for example, will teach you that in no time. I did it and suddenly I was able to solve the cube in a couple of minutes. And these things with the Rubik's Cube aren't hard. They're sort of like learning basic card sleights. And if you can do that toss-up solve, that means that the finale for this trick is that you are instantly solving a cube that your spectators have freely mixed. It's incredible, incredibly strong. The matching of the cubes is pretty much self-working and is just amazing. It is a real jaw-dropping moment. The way it works, the motivation for it all is perfect. It flies. It is so clever. It is the perfect matching cube, and it hasn't been beaten in all the years that Venom Cube has been out. As a bonus, you also get a little gift card that you can put on a table at the start. When you pick this up, you can show you've actually predicted how they will mix the cube with this picture. You can then put this on the palm of their hand, do the cube solve. When they turn this card over, this card has now got the solved picture on it as well. It's a really nice added kicker. You can do it where this is signed and give it to them as a giveaway and a souvenir. You will need to buy refills if you want to do that. I don't think it's necessary. I think the change in the palm of the hand is absolutely fine, and I'm not sure it's worth giving them away. There is a one-time setup when you first get your cube. So the prediction cube comes pretty much blank so that you can put it to whichever stack you have decided to use if you've got your own personal favorite. Just take your time doing that, and once that's done, you are good to go forever. I was actually a little cynical when I first saw this release, thinking that Henry has just come up with a new way of cashing in on his brilliant idea. But actually, to be able to easily carry around the Venom Cube for table hopping, even strolling, you can do this without a table now, is absolutely fantastic. That is Venom Cube Compact Edition by Henry Harris, £132.99.
I think I ought to see a doctor. Oh, why do you say that? I'm beginning to like the show.
And that's it for this week's show. I do hope you have a wonderful Halloween, have lots of fun, probably carve some pumpkins and make a lot of pumpkin soup, pumpkin stew, pumpkin casserole, and so on. But in the meantime, grab up some magic, go out there and have some fun with the best hobby in the world. Goodbye.